All right, so in this video, we're gonna take what we've learned and start factoring trinomials. So remember, factor means to unmultiply, and trinomials means we're gonna have three terms. So we've done GCF factoring where we take out common factors, and we've done grouping where we kind of apply that GCF concept to sets of four terms. Now we're gonna do that for three terms. We've got three examples today, but before we do that, we need to look at, just kind of remember something. So remember that when we're gonna multiply something, we're going to double distribute. So in this case, we would distribute the 2x, and then we would also be distributing the 5. So if you'll pause the video for just a second and go ahead and try that multiplication. All right, we should get four terms that look like this because this is a 2 by 2, so we'll get four terms. But then two of my terms are gonna combine and create three terms. All right, so this is where this like trinomial situation comes from. Some patterns that we want to notice here. So here's a few things. These first terms, so if you'll watch the screen and see what I'm drawing, 2x squared and the 20, they come from things that multiplied together. So for instance, 2x times x gives me 2x squared. The 5 times the 4 multiplied to give me the 20. So these are terms that come just from multiplication. Now this last term, which is the 13, comes from addition that happens. And it's important that we recognize that pattern as well. There's two terms that end up adding to give me what is going on here in the middle. So you need to have that labeled and keep that in mind for us to do these next three examples. All right, so here's our first example. We are going to try to factor 10x squared plus 17x plus 3. So if you'll notice, we're trying to unmultiply this trinomial, and the way that we're going to do that is we need to step backwards and turn it into four terms instead of three. That's how we unmultiply this. Basically, we're going to turn this into a grouping problem. All right, so I'm going to label this problem kind of like I had the last one labeled. I've got this addition and multiplication. So when I say addition, I'm talking about this 17 here in the middle is adding. The multiplication is this 10 and 3 on the end. And then this is just me adding, and you should add this to your notes. Step one is going to be to break into four terms. Now we're gonna do that using X game. So let me show you what I mean by that. All right, so I'm going to set up an X game. You can see I'm kind of erasing right here, where I need two numbers that multiply to give me 30 and are gonna add to give me 17. And if we sit there and think about that for a minute, we should come up with the numbers 15 and 2. So I'm going to fill that out. I've got these numbers 15 and 2. We are going to use these numbers to, quote unquote, split the middle. So let me show you what I mean by that. The middle term here is 17. Remember, that came from adding two terms together. So now I'm going to split that apart because I want four terms in the end. So this is going to become 10x squared plus 15x plus 2x plus 3. One of the questions I often get is, does it matter which order I write these? And the answer is no, the grouping will work out fine. So now I've created myself a grouping problem, and I can go through the steps to solve this by grouping. All right, so I'm gonna take out my GCFs, 5x and 1. Those go to the front. I'm gonna factor, so this is just me doing the grouping process. Notice my factors match. And then I'm going to take out that common factor and put everything back together. So just like yesterday, we can do a quick little check to see if all of this works out. So if I were to go back and to distribute, right, 2 times 5 will give me the 10x squared. 3 times 1 is going to give me the 3 at the end. And then this is going to give me the 15 and the 2, which will make 17. And I can talk through that process again when we come into class, but we can do a quick check at the end. All right, let's look at our last two examples. All right, so just a reminder, the three different examples in this video have three different things in them, so I wanna make sure that we copy all of them. I'm also gonna give you some opportunity to kind of work ahead of me in this video, so there'll be some silent pauses, and that's because I'm trying to give you a chance to practice these things while you're seeing them. All right, so let's get started on this problem. The first thing I need to do, just like in the last one, is I need to figure out, set up X game so that I can split the middle. All right, so I need two numbers that are going to multiply to give me 15 and add to give me -8. So here's something that's different because we have a negative sign here. Sometimes you may say like, well, how do I add things to get negative but multiply to get positive. If you remember, the rules are if I have two negative numbers, they're going to multiply to give me a positive. But when they add, they'll be negative. All right, so I need two numbers that are going to do that for me. And in this case, those numbers will be -3 and -5. All right, so I've got X game set up. So now I'm going to use that information to split my middle term. So give yourself a second to do that. And once we have the middle term split, then we can go through the grouping process. So give yourself a little bit to do that. You can push pause if you need to. All right, so I've taken out, and one thing to note, notice here, like I said the terms were -3, -5, and then there I wrote them in the other order. Like I just said, it does not matter which order we write these in, we will get the same answer in the end. So I took out x and -3. You may have taken out x and -5. Regardless, we will get to this same answer here at the end. So we should have this same final answer. All right. Let's look at our last example together. All right, we can copy that one down. We're again going to start by setting up X game. So go ahead and set up your multiply number on the top and your add number on the bottom. We should be looking for two numbers that multiply to give me 36 and add to give me 20. All right, and I got 18 and 2. All right, so I'm going to split the middle. And again, if you're like, what does she mean when she's saying split the middle? I am taking this middle term, 20, and rewriting it as 18x and 2x because that's equivalent. All right, so I've split the middle. I'm now set up to do grouping. And I truly would love if you paused the video and tried this grouping because this will kind of test if you were, how you were doing on that very last section today. All right, so we've taken out, I took out a 6x, I took out a 2. I'm going to get to this point over here where I have, this says 3x plus 3 and 6x plus 2. Now, one thing that you all need to remember is we have to do a check to make sure that everything is simplified. And in this instance, not all of the terms are simplified. That second factor, 6x plus 2, has something in common. It has a 2. So we need, still has a GCF, right? So we need to take the 2 out and take it to the front, and then we can simplify them both down. Again, it is possible, and I can show this to you in class if you want to, it is possible for you to have taken a 2 out from the very beginning. All of those numbers divide by 2, but we can also do that check at the end to make sure that we have simplified correctly. All right, so you've got the notes that you need for class tomorrow, and we will work on these things together.